in my previous video, I was like, oh, I wish I had an ENFP gal pal. And like now I have one and like life is changing and it's like, oh my gosh. Hi everyone, I am here with my new friend Tina. She
Huh?
also has a channel called Overall Adventures. She's not only a friend of mine, but she's one of my favorite YouTubers at the moment. And so it's really nice to be able to call her my friend as well. So I thought we'd just film a simple interaction video. But before we start, do you want to just talk about your channel for a little bit?
Oh, sure. So I like to make videos about journaling, but also just really about like self-reflection and how you can use things like journaling or other artistic endeavors to kind of connect deeper to yourself, to learn more about yourself, and I guess to help others in the world.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention that I'm an INFJ and Tina is.
An ENFP.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll start off with how we met. So as you can tell, we're talking over Skype. So we haven't met in person, but I actually was first to watch her videos. She had this joy in her videos that just like radiated from her, and it was just so like genuine. And so I got really excited by her personality and I just started watching all of her videos. And then after that we started talking. But yeah, my um, first impression was really, really great. I kind of just had this feeling like, whoa, I haven't met anyone like this before. And as weird as it sounds, like when you're watching a video of someone, like I'd really like to be friends with that person kind of feeling. When I was watching her videos, it was like she had a real intention in putting her thoughts out there, and I thought it was really inspiring.
When I first clicked like one of your videos, I was struck with actually first was your eyes and your intensity with which I felt like you not only were you really knowledgeable about MBTI, which I don't really, or I didn't at the time really know much about, but also I just felt like you were intense, but also available and available to listen. And I was just so struck with like your wisdom and like your kind of, I guess, empathy, or I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like very safe watching your videos and like I could just trust you and like that you weren't like hammering things at me. It was more like offering information, like as a, I just said that, but as an offering. I felt like I was having a conversation with you when I was watching your videos. So,
Oh, that's such a
yeah.
nice thing to hear. Oh.
And your sensitivity too. I was like, wow, she's just like aware of so many different types of people and like how to interact and
Mm.
your self-awareness. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh. One of the biggest things that I walked away with when we had our first conversation was how you were so open to any knowledge, and I feel like I'm very similar in that way.
Yeah.
And it's really rare to find people who can kind of let their guard down and see, okay, what does this person have to offer? And I think like that's the most exciting thing to see in someone. So yeah.
You. Thank you. Ugh. I guess I was just struck, like in our first conversation, I was just struck with like, oh my gosh, like you just are so connected with yourself and like the way that you need to move through the world. I was just so struck with like how aware you are of like your needs and like your wants and yourself and like what you crave in friendship or like certain different types of friendship, like what you need from people and like how you are just so devoted to helping others and it's just like, oh my gosh, and you're just like this endless source of knowledge about MBTI. Like I don't even know how you can remember all these letters. Like I don't get it. And remember, I was like, can you show me like on a piece of paper like what you're talking about? Because I was like, what is she? Like all these letters and
Yeah, and that's another thing as well. Like, I've talked to plenty of people who know me about MBTI, and they weren't like they'd be kind enough to listen, but they wouldn't be really engaged or really help expand upon that conversation. But with you, you completely just took it for what it was and ran with it, and that was so cool and like the best feeling.
well, I just love witnessing people's passion, and I could just tell that like you like light up when you talk about it. So I just wanted to, I don't know, be a part of that.
Oh. Oh, I just thought like a really good like short description of you. I think it's like a walking hug. Like you don't even need to hug people. Just your personality hugs people. Like it's one of those
That's so sweet.
things.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Despite the extrovert introvert difference, I really felt like you were okay with my silent moments when I needed to catch up with my thoughts and I needed to be like, oh, wait a second, I just need to think. Like, I felt comfortable in those moments of silence. Usually, with most people, I feel like, oh, I need to, keep going, like, stay on top of it. But you just hold space for people to think. Let's talk about our similarities and differences. I feel like this is a bit tricky because I really just feel like that whole idea, well, even in terms of functions, we are the inside out versions of each other. And I do feel like a lot of our values are the same. We just maybe approach differently. So it's really hard to like pull out one example that would make us really different. When I'd talk about something, you would bring up a past experience that was very similar, or like a certain moment, which I like, which made it kind of reassuring in a way to be like, oh, she's been there, kind of thing. Whereas I don't know how I'd come across to other people in terms of my empathy. Um,
Hmm.
Hopefully, I'm not too smothering or like.
No, no, no. I feel like you ask really good questions and to show that you're like following, like you're on the trail with that person. You know what I mean? Or I
Yeah.
always like, I feel like you're very engaged with me when I tell you anything. But me being like seeing too many possibilities and ideas, sometimes I'm immobilized by them sometimes, and you're like, no, this is like you can nudge.
Yeah,
You
I
can.
tend to just see the one out of the many and kind of like go
Yeah,
down that track. But when it comes to like video ideas and things, I just see one thing and I'm not very creative, whereas I think you're a lot more creative and see the bigger picture of what else could be.
but I think in life, I really struggle to make decisions because I'm like, I just see like the whole world at once in my head, and then I'm like, oh, well, if I do this now, then it feels like my whole life will be impacted by that like one little choice,
Yeah.
which is not true. But
But
I
yeah,
like,
that's how extroverted intuition works, definitely.
ugh,
Um, Also, another thing is that you're quite a nostalgic person. I'm quite oblivious to the past. I've seen unhealthy introverted sensing, which is your last function. Like, I've seen other people, because the only ENFPs I know are males. And with some of them, I've seen when they think of the past, it's quite negative and like a negative attachment. But I've like with my interactions with you, you've been able to look at it quite positively and see, okay, how can I grow from this? It's okay that I remember these things, but what can I take from it? Which I
yeah. I
think is a
wonder.
sorry.
No, I was just saying, I wonder if that's also why I love journaling because it like captures that moment, which I know is going to become the past, and then I love looking back at them for that like reason. Like I could just like swim in that like nostalgia, which is so
Mm,
random. But I'm
yeah.
like the kind of person if I'm hanging out with like an old group of friends, I'm the one that like remembers all of the little details, like classmates' names or like what the teacher said on this random day, and they're all like, "How do you know that?"
Yeah. It's really
I don't.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very, very oblivious to the past. Like the past is just like ask me what I ate yesterday and I will have to think for like 5 minutes. Like, I guess yeah, we'll finish off with the question of what can we learn from each other.
How do I see us learning from each other? Oh my gosh, I don't know. In so many ways, it's hard to articulate. I guess for me, just in your intentionality and your like your awareness of other people's feelings is something that I think sometimes I get lost in, whether that's in nostalgia or whether that's like in my own head or whatever that is. I really admire the way that you like can look at a whole situation and like read a room and then like not like jump on it, but like take a moment and kind of like observe and like I don't know, assess. Sometimes in my own like anxiousness in groups, I could just like throw myself in when I'm not ready. I'm not making any sense. Am I making
No,
sense?
I can understand, yeah.
Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
a little bit more, yeah, I tend to be a little bit, okay, I don't, this has like such an evil connotation, but I'm quite calculated when I try to understand like the people in the room and try to understand timing and whether, like the appropriateness of when to, yeah, put myself there. Um, but I think at the same time, like you seem to know who you are really, really well. I think I'm very aware of what I want to be and what I want to become, but I'm not very aware of my present self, which I think is a major downfall. And I think observing people who do know who they are intrinsically and they're still like they're sticking to that path, I think is really enlightening. I've never really had a friend who I could talk so freely with from the get go. It usually takes a lot of time for me to open up and speak my opinions. In particular, I very much hold back from expressing my opinions. But with you, we like our first call went on forever, and like I don't remember a moment where I was kind of like, oh, am I talking too much? Well, I think I did a little bit, but as soon as you reassured me, I was like completely fine.
I feel like I I don't have these kinds of conversations or connections often either. But I think for me, it's more like a trust thing. Like from the minute, and I mentioned this earlier, but with you, I felt very much like safe to be myself and just safe to express myself. And I think in order to to talk about, I don't know, spirituality or veganism or things that both of us are like we really care about, or and your service, like I would love for you to talk at some point about your awesome service stuff that you do, by the way, because I think it's so cool.
Aw.
But anyways, but I'm just like really inspired by the way you do what you value. It's like more than just like the dreamy talk, which I think I sometimes get stuck into because I'm like I see too many options, and I really care about those options, but I like need someone like you to be like, take the path, go on the path, you know.
Yeah, I feel
Do
like friendship is like reaching an equilibrium. Like when you talk to them, you feel like so much more at balance and like, okay, I know what I need to think about, what I need to focus on. And yeah, that's special.
yeah, I agree.
So that's all we really have time for in this video, but we'd love to know if you are an INFJ, whether you have friendships with ENFPs and vice versa. I really think that the INFJ ENFP friendship is really, 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 really special, and really makes INFJs feel really loved. So, yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts, but thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Tina, for being in this
Oh,
video.
thanks for having me. Thank you.
I will link her channel below and all that good stuff, so you should definitely check her out because she's my favorite. So I'd love to share that with you guys. But
Thank
other
you.
than that, we will see you guys. Bye.
Yes. Bye.